Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Chelsea, and today I'm going to talk you through the 4 books that I gave 5 stars. Yes, I can be quite strict on my 5 stars, but these are books that either really surprised me in how much I loved them, or just everything about them was just, well, they were all 5 stars, so everything about them I loved, really. So let's just jump right in. This is not in the particular order of which I read them, because I could be that organised, but I'm not, so you come here for chaos. First up, Legacy of Steel. I really had a thing, I don't know, recently I've really had a thing for like the middle book in a trilogy. I feel like sometimes I really struggle with the middle book. I feel like it's just there to make things happen, but that was not the case with this book. With this book, it just fully had, obviously, its own plot, its own goals, its own things, and although it did move characters into position for the final situations that happen in the 3rd and final book, this one stood out all by itself. I loved this one. So the Legacy trilogy is completed. I read it with Lisa this year for our It's All About Fantasy book club that we do, and I really enjoyed the trilogy. I have been meaning to finish it for the longest time, and for some reason I just haven't. And I'm so glad that I managed to finally get to this. These are all very chunky books. They are probably some of the larger books that I have read this year, and I am so glad that I have. I can't tell you a lot about this particular book because obviously it spoils a lot from the first book, but the premise of the Legacy trilogy is that this is an epic fantasy with a lot of political intrigue. It has got plenty of action and battle scenes. The very first book has a massive battle that goes on for chapters and chapters and chapters, and although that wasn't my favourite thing, what I love about the second book especially is that this fighting is still in depth and something that you can get your teeth into. However, it is not as long, if that makes sense. The characters are so well developed. I love that throughout this whole series we are reading from so many different points of view. There are characters all up and down the map in this world, so you get perspectives from every corner of the map. And for me as a reader, that is one of my favourite things. I love when I can get all-round perspectives to see why certain characters are acting the way they are, and why the things that other characters do makes them act a certain way. I loved it. I can't recommend this series enough. If you love epic fantasy with political intrigue and battles and all that sort of thing, please check it out. There's even like a sprinkling of romance in here, like very vaguely, but it is there as well, and the relationships between characters are so well padded and just so beautiful. I loved it, and I love this series. I want to reread it already. I think I've said this before, but I already want to reread this series. My next 5-star read was The Branded, and this one really surprised me. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I read most of this in an airport, actually, as I was waiting for my flight. But this is published by Angry Robot Books. I was very kindly sent a copy of this book to review, and I will say I'm so glad that I read it. I think this definitely leads more on the romance fantasy side than just fantasy, and in this world there was a disease that kind of like decimated the population, and in Isfolk, which is where our main characters live, the population is divided into the branded and the pure, I want to say. Yes, it is. So the branded are seen as weaker. They have got brands all over their bodies, which have been a result of this disease that infiltrated the country, and the pure are seen as stronger and they're immune, and they are kind of just treated like breeding cattle, or the women are anyways, and just treated like breeding cattle. And that is where our story starts. So the sisters we follow are Nara and Osha, and Nara just wants to escape from this life of being a pure, and when something happens that means she is actually thrown out of this life, she proceeds to come up with a plan to get her sister back, who is still being part of the pure community. And when they are both kidnapped by wastelanders, they discover that being trapped within the walls is really not as bad as they seem to think it was originally. There is so much mystery, I think, throughout this book. There's a lot of things that happen that I did not see coming. I thought they were really interesting and plot twists, should I say. But I'm really looking forward to finishing this series next year. The sequel for the duology comes out next year at some point, and I'm ready to find out what has happened, because this was such a good book for me, and I'm so glad that I actually got round to reading it. And then my other 2 5-star reads are both indie. First up, we've got Rob J. Hayes with The Price of Faith, which is the 3rd and final book in the Ties That Bind trilogy, or the first part of the trilogy. And I love this 3rd and final book. I think this is how all series should really wrap up. It was so good. A lot of my questions are answered. I really enjoyed the characters and the world building. This trilogy really gives you people that you should not like in the slightest and makes you fall in love with them and really hold them close to your heart, even though they do some of the most despicable things. It's crazy. The audiobooks for this are really, really good as well, if you want to check those out. I can't really tell you, obviously, a lot about the 3rd and final book because it's the 3rd and final book. In the very first book, we are following 3 different perspectives from 3 very different characters who end up meeting on the road and having to work together to get to their end goal. And I don't really want to say a lot about that because you need to read it, and I loved going into these kind of blind. But what you do need to know is it's grimdark, there are multiple POVs, and you will love to hate these characters, or you'll hate to love these characters is probably the better way around. And then finally, I've got Renia by Carl Forshaw. I think this might end up being one of, if not my book of the year, my 2nd best book of the year. Still working that out. So this book follows our main character Renia, and she is a scribe, and she is asked to transcribe this book that is coveted by assassins, and it is then stolen. And by having this book stolen, this threatens a very fragile peace between multiple nations. This book is set within almost like a library-esque scholarly place, so it's got that dark academia vibe. It's really, really cool. It's got multiple POVs, which is my favourite way to read. I think I've already said that. And there is magic, there is fantasy, there is some dark forces that you can't really put your finger on just yet, and there is intrigue. Like, the way this book ends, I need the next one because I don't know what happens and I need it. This is also planned to be like a 9-book series, I think. It's going to be a very big one, and I'm just so excited to explore the rest of the world and experience more of the characters and see where else they go in their adventures. I cannot wait to actually be able to do that. So there you go. There are the 4 books that I actually managed to rate 5 stars. Maybe next year I will find even more best books. I do not know, but I hope that I do. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, really supports me on my channel. Leave me a comment down below of your favourite book of the year. I'd be really interested to know, and whether I should add it to my TBR. If you want to leave me an emoji, leave me any love heart eyes emojis for how we look at our books. And if you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing down below and ring that notification bell to get notified every single time I upload new videos. I am uploading every single day now until Christmas Eve, so be sure to come back tomorrow for another video. But otherwise, that is everything for today's video. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye!
The Christmas tree's on fire, Santa's holding the lighter. My parents are both liars, I got gifts but 1 subscribers. Thanks for the candy basket, oh got another jacket. My stocking's filled with acid, am I dreaming? What just happened?